Jennifer?
Oh, Mommy, look. Oh, you missed it. She was on her belly. Oh, so...
Hello and welcome to a new reading vlog. So for this week, I just discovered the little preview function on Goodreads that allows you to sort of read the first page of a book. I didn't notice that before. Clearly I'm not that observant, but I thought with this week, the way that I would choose my books is by reading a bunch of the first sentences, just the first sentence of the books on my TBR, and then picking which ones were my favorites. So that is what I have done. I spared you me going through every single one of them. Some of them are real lackluster. None of them were 5-star sentences to me, but I have chosen my favorites out of those. So first up, we have The Vault of Souls by Josephine Angelini. This is an arc from NetGalley, and this book will be out on the 1st of October this year. So the first sentence in this book was, "The Vault of Souls is full." So I love that the title is in there. And I was also incredibly intrigued by what that means. What does it mean if the Vault of Souls is full? So it was very short, it was punchy, but my curiosity was piqued. So let me tell you about this book because I did read it, and I did read it in one sitting, even though it was over 500 pages, and it was a ride. So basically, straight out the gate, if you like Game of Thrones, you will like this book. It was giving Game of Thrones to me very heavily. I will say one of the things I disliked about this book was that there were 8 POVs. 8 POVs. That's a lot, but I get it. It's a whole cast of characters. I understand. I still feel like maybe we could have axed a few of those POVs, but that's up to the author's discretion. And yet, despite the fact there were so many POVs, I did read the book, and I did like the book. I'll get to that later. I'm jumping ahead. It's just I just read it last night, and it's a lot. It is a brutal book. There is no mercy here. You shall be shown none. None of the characters shall be shown mercy either. In this book, like I said, there's a cast of characters. The magic system and the world building in this was done very well. It is very interesting. To try and sum it up, because I can't really sum up this book, it's too much, but to try, we've got a world where there are people from different nations. There is magic, and the way that the magic is utilized is different depending on which sort of faction you're in. So you have the saints, and the saints use this magic from the Vault of Souls to perform miracles.
Don't rush me, Sonny. You rush a miracle, man, you get rotten miracles.
To perform miracles. Obviously, the miracles align with whatever that nation's interests are. And then you've got a faction known as the Brotherhood, and they're sort of paid assassins, assassins for hire. They also have a vow of, austerity. They don't have personal possessions. They're not allowed pleasures of the flesh, and they are terrifying. And then you've got a sort of non-human type of tribe who have their own agenda going on. And then there's the widows. There's this prophecy that when the vault is full, the 3 widows will be called, and they will launch the reaping, like absolute devastation. And the 3 widows make an appearance in this, and that was the coolest part of this book for me. I was like, whoo! What's her name? Her from Game of Thrones, but way cooler, way more powers. So really fascinating. Like I said, this book is devastating. There was a point where I might have DNF'd it had this not been an arc. I do read arcs all the way through because I found out if you DNF an arc, it trashes your percentage and your rating. So we'll always read arcs all the way through. I'm glad I did not stop. But there is a particular scene and thing that happens that involves 2 brothers and a 16-year-old bride. I don't like it, but I understand that there are vile characters in this. One of these brothers, whose name is Lycus, is a Joffrey. Joffrey, but worse. Okay, so you can imagine the hatred I was feeling. And yet also hatred towards his brother, who is a saint, who has these powers, and who, when he gives any sort of tenderness or affection to someone, his Joffrey brother, Lycus, either kills, tortures, destroys that person's life because he will not allow his brother any form of happiness. And I thought, okay, why has this Joffrey bitch not met an unfortunate accident? If you are a goddamn saint, the most powerful of saints, How have you not iced him? You are allowing all of the people that you give a crumb of your affection to pay the price for it. What a little pussy wimp bitch. Like, but I digress. I don't want to get worked up, but that potential, that character, Lauren, that's his name, he had so much potential, but just his lack of action and agency in regards to his brother, oh, no. Like, he's just as much to blame as for his brother's actions as his brother. So, and like I said, there is a 16-year-old, beautiful, sweet, naive little thing that gets caught up in the middle, and horrible things occur. Look, all the trigger warnings, guys, all the trigger warnings. Like I said, this is a Game of Thrones style book. Fantasy is the only genre that I can stomach these things in. And the overall story was captivating enough for me to sort of brush it aside. Just brush it aside. Just put, okay, can't dwell on that. Got to keep going. Just keep on moving. Keep on moving.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
But there's also a character named Aval, and hate her. She can also die a horrific death. But there are some fantastic characters, and there are romances that I am shipping with all of my shipper heart. So naturally, the biggest one, the main one, the best one, is the forbidden romance between one of the brothers from the Brotherhood, his name is J17, and a saint named Elowen. Obviously, the forbidden love, guys. It's a forbidden love, but, you know, I'm like rooting for these guys. Find a way. Hopefully they do. Besides them, I'm also shipping a really stand-up guy named Prince Rain, and a badass queen, Queen Morrigan. These two marvelous mofos sort of put into a forced marriage of alliance. They're both wonderful human beings. There's also a roadblock to their romance for reasons I cannot tell you, but I'm not going for the reason of why there's a roadblock. I'm going for them. I want them to form a power couple. So that also kept me invested, you know. But there's not really like a romance in this book, okay? Like, no one's kissing or whatever. Oh, some people are kissing, but it's people that I don't care about. But it's not. There have not been any descriptive sex scenes or essay scenes. That hasn't really been on page. So there's that. But yeah, this was really interesting. Like I said, I do think it could have been maybe a little bit better with less POVs. I understand why though, because these are all the main players in the game. But I feel like that does sort of kill pacing a bit, so it is slower paced, even though there's a lot of things going on. There's so much political scheming and maneuvering and negotiating happening, and backstabbing, and like I said, it's full of blood. Okay, it's dripping in betrayals and violence and the like. And the magic system really is interesting. There is a wall, you know, there are weepers who are walker adjacent. Like, it's interesting. And it's just sort of setting up the story, you know. So this was epic. It was full on. And I'm glad it was an arc and I didn't DNF it. Like, I love this author's other series, as you know, which is her, what's the series called? I always forget the name of the series. I never pay attention to that. The Chronicles of Lucitopia. You remember the most recent one of hers I read was about the sort of dragon shifter romance where people from our world can go LARP in a magic world. Love that series. That's obviously PG compared to this, but that was a great start to my week. So yay, I'm interested to see if there is a correlation between great first sentences and books I really enjoy. And maybe I should do the reverse, like reading all the books with my least favorite sentences. But then I'm like, why would you purposely pick books that could potentially all be awful reads for you? I don't know. Switch it up. Like, I do sometimes enjoy these like themed vlogs or different ways of choosing my books. It makes it fun. It turns it into a game as well as a hobby, a joy. It just makes it more joyous. So the next book that I am picking up, after this one, I had to pick one of the ones that was like so tame and hopefully like more cozy and less intense than what I just read. And so I picked up The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. So this first sentence, Kiela never thought the flames would reach the library. It got me because there is a library under threat, and that, I'm like, oh no, not the books, please. But this also has beautifully illustrated raspberries at the start of each chapter. And I'm like, oh my God, I love that. Like botanical drawings of fruit. You got me books, burning books, and delicious fruit. Fabulous. And also I've heard that this is more tame, although it is, that being said, I did read a little bit of this so far. The first chapter is the city being destroyed and the library is under attack. They're setting it aflame, and the main character, Kiela, is obviously a scholar of this library, and she's trying to save as many books as she can and escape with her sentient, talking, moving spider plant, Kaz. That's right, we have an animated plant, and yay, like, I love that. That's adorbs. So she has just shoveled a bunch of books into a wheelbarrow and has escaped through the tunnels into a boat, and has sailed back to her original hometown, which is a very small island. Her parents left the island with her to find a better life for their daughter in the city. Her parents are now dead, and it's just her and her plant, because she too was absorbed in her work to the point where she made no other relationships or friends. It was just her and her books and her plant, and I get it, girl. So she's decided, okay, I know that there's a home, a cottage that we left there just in case we ever wanted to return. That's where she's headed, because the city has been destroyed, basically, and she does not feel like she can return. So she's taken these priceless tomes and historical artifacts of her people, and she's headed there, and she so far has found her dilapidated cottage, which is still pretty decent. It's in pretty decent shape. She was awoken the next day by a very handsome man with a scythe. So it's a bit alarming for her, but turns out he lives down the way by the woods in a yellow cottage, and he's a mer horse farmer. Is that what they're called? I don't know, but magical seahorses basically. And he's told her, like, look, I had to check who was squatting in the house of this family. And she's like, I am the family. He's like, okay, my bad. Welcome to the island. We all look out for each other here. Close-knit community, which is probably terrifying to her, because she'd rather not do the peopling thing. She'd rather just live quietly in her secluded little cottage and find a way to survive. But she's going to have to learn to socialize, because naturally there's no garden growing. She's got to get a garden growing to be self-sustainable. She's got to get stuff in order. So we're at the point where she's about to head into the sort of main village, I guess, the town, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, it was quite a bit of an intense start, but I do believe this is a romantasy, cottagecore, cozy fantasy. So I do need that after Vault of Souls. That was kind of crazy. But I'll let you know once I've read that book. Today I'm heading out, cafe, library, errands, all that stuff, because kids are back at school. I'm now settled after the bit of a tumultuous week that I have had. I am still chatting to Beauty. Whether we end up going on a date or not, who knows, but it is what it is. I did have someone reach out and offer to send me a copy of their book, which is like, I was like, thanks. But it's a YA thriller, and that's not my genre. So I had to politely decline, but congratulate them on releasing a book. That is wonderful news. I'm always happy for anybody else's happiness and success. And it was very sweet that they thought of me, but I'm like, I know my reading taste, and I don't want to say yes to any like physical copies of books that I don't believe are suited for me. Like it would hurt my heart so much if I didn't like it. And like YA thriller, I don't even know if I've read any, like maybe a handful out of the 500 would be YA thrillers. And it's just, so far is not a genre, I would say. That is a highly rated one for my tastes, but that was very sweet and very cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's cool. Even like when I worked as a librarian, like we didn't get singled out for special stuff, we got access to obviously all the books. So it's nice to be thought of in that way. Still waiting on that final book to do that viewer gifted books vlog, which I'm dying to, because the snacks are sitting there just taunting me. I want to eat them so badly, but I'm like, Chanel, practice restraint, something you're not great with, but you gotta work that muscle. So hopefully the final book comes soon. Or what I might do is after this one, I might film the first 4 books, just so I filmed it and I can eat the snacks, because it's mostly about the snacks. And then when the 5th one comes, I'll just add it, cobble it on to the end of that vlog, and then release it whenever I can release it. Cause I can't, bro. Like, I have never been someone who has the ability to resist delicious temptations. I cave so quickly. So yeah, I want to put the yummy things in my mouth, okay? I want to eat them. So will hopefully be the next vlog you see after this one. If not, then the one after that, because the book is meant to get here by the end of the month. So I might just miss the cutoff, because I do stop I do the end of month wrap ups pretty much like on the 27th of the month, so that the wrap up is ready to go on the 1st. So it might miss it because I've only got 10 days until that date. So come on, Wookie, make it. Otherwise it'll be in an August vlog, obviously. But I will see you guys when I return. Okay guys, it's been a few days, but let me tell you about the other Red Eye books and the first sentences of those. So, oh wait, we've got Spell Shop. I need to tell you about Spell Shop, which I was reading. So in Spell Shop, you have the blue-haired librarian. You've got a world full of magical creatures and unusual people. They're not human, really, in this world. And returning home, being part of a tight-knit community and helping each other out, I'd say, are the main themes, as well as the feeling of finally belonging. The romance was very tender and very sweet. My dude is definitely an acts of service guy. This was less cozy than I thought, so there was actually quite a lot of action. There were some tense scenes, and I wasn't prepared for that. I thought this was just going to be a lady tending to her cottage garden, doing some spells from her book, chatting to her houseplant, falling in love. But no, there was intrigue and fairly, I'd say almost even high stakes. Pretty much high stakes actually, because the threat of death was there. The threat of death was there. I won't tell you what happens. Someone's texted me and that's my daughter. Why come to my room when you can just send me a text? But I actually enjoyed it. I did end up giving it a 4 stars. It was sweet, it was fun. The island was just so gorgeous. You could really see it come alive in your mind. And I love magic and spell books and flying cat skies, flying kitties. So it was a nice change up from the very intense fantasy book I'd read just before it. So yeah, 4 stars for the Spell Shop. So the next book I picked up was Tattered, Huntress. This is by Helen Harper. It's called Thrill of the Hunt, and the first sentence of that is, I should make it clear from the start that a bogle wouldn't be my first choice of a drug dealer. And look, that had me chuckle. I did an audible at reading that. So that's what caught my attention. This is a paranormal book. How do I talk about this? So you have a drug addicted FMC who goes on this sort of amazing race type of treasure hunt against some other teams, one of which being a very arrogant Fae who dared to get her fired from her actual job of being a courier because she's drug addicted. You can tell she has a ring around her eyes. And basically she ends up, competing in this race. She wants to beat him and put him in his place. But this book, there were some funny moments, okay? It did have some humor, but her drug addiction is first and foremost. So you have everyone in society treating her less than, and you have her constantly trying to justify that she's not hurting anybody else, she's just hurting herself. And I don't know, it just, I didn't like it. It's just a fantasy book, you know, I'm like, I don't need to have that element in here. And also in this race, naturally, all these other teams are against her. They don't care about her well-being, but every goddamn time one of them was in danger, she risked herself to save them and naturally would not obtain the treasure because, you know, her conscience got the better of her and she's like, I've got to help them. No, you don't, bitch. No, you don't. They hate you. They hate you. They got you fired. They don't care about your well-being. What are you doing? Look out for yourself. So it's one of those situations where I was just getting frustrated at everything. Like the FMC was just not my idea of a main character that I want to read about. So at 116 pages, I did decide to DNF this. If you don't have an issue with people with main characters with drug addictions and that being a very focal point of the book, then you might enjoy the rest of this with the whole, you know, treasure hunting, amazing race situation. The main guy too, he was just so nasty to her though as well, that it veered too far into that bully romance side of things for me. I was just like, no, I can't. He literally treats her like she's vile and wanted to destroy her life just because she has an addiction. Nothing to do with him. He doesn't know her, but she dared to give him a delivery and he So, oh, you're an addict, I'm going to destroy you. Like, what? Okay. Different strokes for different folks, my dudes. And then I picked up Heartsease by Kate Cremink. I love the cover. So on the cover you have the Heartsease pansies and it's so gorgeous. And the first sentence for this: I saw my mother for a long time after she died. Now with this one, I just couldn't get into it. It's about two sisters and they have a falling out and their mother dies and then they find themselves at a retreat after having not spoken for so long. But the writing style was very unique. It's very flowery, it's very stream of conscious. And I don't know, every time I tried to read it, I felt my attention just slipping, just falling away and then realizing, oh, I didn't read what I just read. Let me go back again. And for the 30 pages that I did this, it happened over and over and over. And I don't know why, but for whatever reason, the writing just did not grip my attention. It didn't captivate me, it didn't hold me, and it was taking too much effort to read. So I think it's just a case of we're not aligned, and I did decide to DNF it after the 30 pages that I reread over and over and over again. But I think a lot of people do enjoy it. It just wasn't for me. So I did have to let that one go. And I decided to only read 4 books for this vlog. This is going to be a mini one because the final book for the viewer buys my books came. So I get to eat the snacks and I'm just very eager to do it. So let's just wrap this little mini vlog up. So we had Heartsease by Kate Cremink, which I DNF'd at 30 pages. We have Tattered Huntress, Thrill of the Hunt by Helen Harper, which I DNF'd at 116 pages. Then we have The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, which I gave a 4 stars. And the best read of the vlog, Vault of Souls by Josephine Angelini, which I gave a 4.75. So that's everything for this vlog. Until next time, stay wild, Star Child.